list. That is Mr. Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals. I have him ranked at 9 this year. He finished as a QB 25 last season. Obviously, important to note, he only played in 10 games. Is there an issue with health? We shall see. He did get roped into our conversations earlier. I'm going to go to Pete first on this one. Joe Burrow, where do you have him ranked? What are your thoughts on him being 7th in our consensus fantasy football rankings?
Yeah, Joe Burrow. I mean, look, he's dealt with some health issues. I'm hoping that he can get right in terms of that. It seems like there's no setbacks, and he seems to be doing okay there. So fingers crossed on that. But a full season healthy for Burrow. Now, we talked to Anthony Richardson about the health issues. The difference with Burrow is he's not going to put himself out there to get hurt. And this offensive line did upgrade. They drafted Amarius Mims, who has a pec strain, and he's going to miss a few weeks, but he's looked amazing in camp. They brought in Trent Brown. They brought in the other Brown, Orlando Brown. So this offensive line should be better. Mims
is done, I believe, done for the year.
Are you sure? Because I thought it said a pec strain.
Oh, okay. I thought it was more significant the way that initially was reported, but I'll check it out.
Yeah, why don't you check that out? I mean, he wasn't projected to be the starter either way. That would be a tough blow, considering you have Trent Brown as a veteran. So it would be nice to be able to put Mims in there if he gets hurt or misses a few games. But
pec injuries out multiple weeks.
Multiple weeks. Okay, so that's great because I really liked him. He's a freak. He's like 6'7" or something like that, and he's fast. But yeah, I mean, look, he's only been in the top 10 for points per game once, and that was in 2022. I'm sorry, top 9. I finished 10 one time as well. But in 2022, he had 26 passing touchdowns. Honestly, I could see him replicating that this season. T. Higgins, they brought in Jermaine Burton. I know we say it a lot. We've said it a couple of times with the Chiefs, and we've talked about it with the Bills. I truly think this could be the best wide receiver core and just weapons in general with Mike Gesicki, with Chase Brown, who's a good pass catcher, Gesicki, Jersey Shore native. But I think with Gesicki, he could be there.
How many touchdowns did you say Burrow threw in 2022?
36.
Oh, okay, got you right.
Yeah, 36. And he also rushed for 5 rushing touchdowns. That year he was 4th in fantasy points per game. The year he rushed for 5. Now, when he was the quarterback 10 in points per game in 2021, he scored just 1.2 points per game less than he was when he was the quarterback 4 in points per game. So it wasn't that significant. And so he's got an O-line upgrade. This defense is really bad. And I think with Ilyasova, or however you say his name, Jermaine Burton, the rookie, I really like him. If T. Higgins can stay healthy, because he's always banged up. I know they lost Tyler Boyd, but I do think there's a chance that this could be the best collection of pass catchers. And not for nothing, people forget, Jamar Chase is still young. It's crazy enough to sound. I mean, he could get better. As crazy. I mean, he's still young. He's 24 years old. So awful defense. They should be throwing the ball a ton. They were in the top 10 for passing attempts last year. I think that'll continue to stay the same, if not get better. And the ding on him is that he lacks rushing upside, and he has issues staying healthy. But hopefully, he can stay on the right side of that this season.
Yeah, he better stay healthy this year. Otherwise, he's just going to be labeled as just completely injury prone.
Yeah. Yep. I agree.
Yeah.
But I mean, you get a full season with those two guys. It's lights out. Go ahead, Ant.
Oh, absolutely.
So I have Burrow ranked as my quarterback 7, and Burrow, he has injury concerns, right? Yeah. 2 out of 4 years in this league, he plays 10 games. I even think going into the season a few years ago, he had an appendix. Like, always seems like there's something going on with Joe Burrow. And, everybody knows how I feel about Burrow. I think he's to me, second best quarterback in the NFL outside of Patrick Mahomes. But in fantasy, Joe Burrow has not always lived up to the hype that I give him as an NFL quarterback, right? He's had 2 nice years in fantasy. When he's healthy, he produces quarterback 4 points per game in 2022, 2021, quarterback 10 in points per game. When he's not playing a full season, he finishes outside the top 18. Now, Burrow is going to inherit some changes. Boyd out. I think Gesicki plays the big slot role. Jermaine Burton, you bring up, he was, I think, 5th or 6th in terms of wide receiver pecking order in preseason week 1. So that is not a good look out the gate for him. I don't think he's in danger of not making the team, but I think he has a ways to go. So that's a good sign for Gesicki, and I have a lot of Gesicki exposure.
He had a nice preseason game the other night. Caught 2 bombs. Yeah.
But, like, when it comes to how I'm drafting Burrow, like, just like I feel about Richardson, I don't like drafting scared of players. If I'm drafting worried about injuries, then I shouldn't draft him at all. And Burrow, like, he's a player where I think he can get on track. I think he can stay healthy. And I think he can perform as, again, I don't think we're getting top 5 out of him again, but can we get a middle of the pack quarterback 1 out of Joe Burrow? He certainly has the weapons there to give us that. And, you know, we've seen this historically since Zach Taylor has been there. They are a top 5 team in pass attempts. Normally every season they lose Callahan. They promote Dan Pitcher from within. I think they're going to stick with the same type of philosophy and throw the football. No Joe Mixon. I think that's more of a reason why they have to throw the football. And if Burrow is healthy and they're going to throw at the rate that I believe that they're going to throw, he will return some fantasy value. In terms of, now, you bring up Burrow doesn't bring a lot of rushing upside. That 2022 season, I think this is what could potentially sneak him, if everything goes well, into the top 5 in points per game. In 2022, he rushed for 5 touchdowns. Not a lot of yards, 259 yards. But that year, he played 17 and finished as a QB4 in points per game. He rushed for 5. And sometimes I forget about that because that's not what we're used to thinking about Joe Burrow. But he does, will run a little bit here and there.